Right, hopefully you can hear me this time. Well, I hope you can hear me. Annoyingly, it had done that thing where it's used the wrong microphone, so even though I plugged the right one in, it wasn't using it. So I'm just going to delete that old stream now off of the thing. And hopefully it will send a notification out for this one, because I don't think it sent out a notification for the other one either. Because I think there might have been 2 people on after a minute. So hopefully now, let's have a look. It says there's 2 people watching, but no comments yet. So 4 people watching, so yeah, actually has sent a notification out. So what I've thought with this stream is I'd do one about the MK7 Helmet. Because yesterday when I did the stream, lots of people kept asking about it just as I was going off. So I thought, why not do a stream specifically on this helmet, because I quite like it. Right, you're on the right stream now, because I said previously I just had to stop the stream because the mic I don't think was working. Britain, it's the one they're taking out of service now. It was the replacement from the Mark 6 and the Mark 6A. And it's now being replaced by basically the current US helmet, but just under a different name as far as I'm aware. That's an Israeli M15, but the cool thing is every mask I've tried with this helmet so far, it seems to sit properly with it, and you can do the strap up with the helmets. I'm just seeing if there's any other masks I've got handy just to test, so bear with me a second. But yeah, the cool thing with the this helmet is because of the shape of it. If you look there, you should hopefully be able to see it's like a 3-stage helmet in terms of height. It seems to fit with most respirators because the front bit seems to be perfect for going sort of along there. Yeah, it's the mask pole FP211 filter. It's the ABE variant. This was the one I had before the FP5s. So you see my hair looks awful now because I've had a mask strap on. Okay, is it still thermoplastic though, Chris? Because that's the bit that's the really interesting bit, is obviously the ECH, what it's made out of. Because obviously moving away from Kevlar due to thermoplastic sort of being stronger against bullets. Tear gas can't go through gas masks, no, not if you have a proper filter on them. Because that's sort of one of the purposes of a mask, is obviously to protect you. Soviet masks are quite heavily latex specs. Oh, okay, that's very interesting to know, Chris. I'll definitely try and get one when they start turning up more commonly on eBay, because I would really like to get one of those helmets, considering how tough they are from like the ballistic test videos. Right, let's have a quick look with another mask to see how well it fits. What have I got handy? I'm trying to think of one I've not used with it yet. I know like the Soviet PBF and that would work absolutely fine. Soviet mask, but I'm just thinking, is there anything different that's handy just to try? Bear in mind, a lot of masks aren't stored in this room, which causes problems if I want to test certain ones, because I have to go and get them. I am here, by the way. I don't know why you can hear me, but wow, a hazmat suit gives you much better protection if you mean a full body hazmat suit and all that, because that's a pressurized suit. But if you mean if you had an NBC suit without a mask, like a standard NBC suit, or a gas mask, probably a gas mask, because there's not many things that will kill you from skin contact but not inhalation. If that makes sense. Right, I'm just seeing if I can spot any other masks handy, because I've got loads. It's just whether or not there's any that are quick to grab. I could try it with my first ever gas mask, actually, saying that. Although these are going to be much harder to take off and down from the wall, considering all the stuff I've been doing in this room recently. Whereas I said, I'm not using that bed anymore, so that's just stored there. Do I have any Polish helmets? Yes. The only Polish helmet I've got, though, is is it something 50 it's called? Is it WZ50 or MZ50 or something? And it's the one that's the Polish, like, steel pot copy of the SSH-40. Yeah, WZ50, that's the one. Yeah, that's definitely one. Right, Stug? Sadly, not really, Mr. Grindman, just because the laws here make that quite difficult, because, like, other than swords and things like that, we have that weird 1870s cut-off where you can get, like, Denix kind of replicas and stuff like that that are pre-1870s. But once you go past that, you need, like, other kind of licenses or legal excuses to get them. Anyway, I was going to try this, wasn't I, just see if M9 style masks work. Obviously, this one's a Finnish M61, but... that's annoying, Stug. That's the sort of thing that might turn up at something. Okay, so it's an added pre-filter for the M50 when there's high. That's okay. Interesting, yeah. So, yeah. Because I'm sure I'd seen those before, but I just couldn't find any info on them. You know, and I looked again. Right, Laser? So, yeah, let's try the Finnish M61. Yeah, that's what I was getting confused just then, because obviously I had the M61 mask out, and then you're on about an M61, but you didn't mean the filter for this, did you? Right, so let's give this one a quick test. I'm sure it will work fine. I've not got the filter on, it's just more of a case of will the helmet fit with the mask, and then will the strap do it, but the answer to that is yes. So, there we go. You won't be able to hear me very well with this one. I have no idea, Laser. It could be that. Also, I first started the stream, and then the microphone thing messed up again because YouTube had decided to not use my actual proper microphone. So I had to stop that stream and start again, and maybe that sabotaged it, because the problem seems to be sometimes with YouTube, if you send out one thing that does a notification, and then stops all of them. Is it a Kevlar one or a metal one, Mr. Grindman? But yeah, a lot of the YouTube stuff does not make sense in that regard, of will it send out a notification or not. Metal one. As far as I'm aware, the Bundeswehr mostly used the USM1 helmet, didn't they? So they'd have given it their own name, but it's basically a licensed version of that. Because before they went to Kevlar, as far as I'm aware, they just used the M1 like variant. Yep, everything I've tried it with so far, Laser, it works fine with, which is the interesting thing. Because as far as I'm aware, this is the only helmet I've got that does work well with all my masks that I've tried it with. Generally, you'll get some helmets that work well with a couple of masks and not others. Oh, you just said it was metal, not Kevlar. But if it's a Kevlar helmet, then it would be the what's the name of it? The current German military helmet. It's that one, isn't it? But what's the name of it? It's like the Pasket style thing, but this thing's just calling it German Kevlar helmet. So that's helpful. Everything's just calling them German military Kevlar helmets, which doesn't help much at all. But I'm sure it has like a number. Oh, Gefenchtelm M92 or something. The M92 helmet, or also known as the B826 helmet. Right. Chris has actually said while I was a bit held it for review for some reason. So I wonder what the word was in that, Chris, that was censored. Because YouTube censored it, and I'm trying to actually see, is there a single thing in that would be offensive? Maybe they thought Bundy meant Ted Bundy, I don't know. It's an IBM Model M, so you can type fast on it. Yeah, this is the thing, because a lot of people have said, oh, it's me deleting comments and all this. I really don't think it is. It seems that YouTube just has a habit of like really not liking a load of comments. Because there's been really annoying ones where somebody makes a good comment and it's held for review, and I want to reply to it. So I press the tick, you know, so it says comment approved. I go, and then it's just not on the approved comments list, so it's just disappeared somewhere. And that's the ones I can see, because I bet there's a hell of a lot of comments that people try and make that just don't register. Richard was saying that's probably the head size, Mr. Grinderman, I imagine, as in like, you know, the circumference of the head. What was I saying? Well, if you're on about two different things, aren't they, you Lotu? The PBF gas mask's all right. The problem is it's cheek filters, and they're all the old asbestos type ones, as far as I'm aware. But the mask itself was pretty good. In terms of, is this helmet bulletproof against pistol rounds? Yes. Rifle rounds? No. It'll be the old M1 style one then, Mr. Grindman. Yeah, because they haven't completely retired it from service yet, Iron Man. It's the typical, you know, thing. Oh, and of course I forget to, let me just put the thing off so I don't have to, I can reply later. Soviet military helmets. I'm trying to think, do I have any genuine Soviet ones? I think the answer is no, because I've got a lot of Warsaw Pact ones, which are pretty much the same thing as the Soviet ones, just slightly different liners and everything, but I don't think I've got any Soviet ones. Yeah. The course laser, yeah. The thing is, yeah, oh, you mean like as a mod? Yeah, of course, please do. It's a shame, yeah, but it would have to be on that bit. In theory, I reckon those Mark 6 visors. Is the Mark 6 in my room? Because if it is, yes, it is. We could see in theory if it would fit over. I reckon this bit will be a bit too bulgy. But in theory, you could get other helmets to take this, because if you drilled into the helmet, you could probably fit the mountings if you really wanted to do that, if you had one of the similar enough size. But yeah, I have the problem, like I say, with YouTube, of some people, like Richard Weaponsmith said recently, he's on, or Richard Bowman, that he left a comment on one of my videos, and I think he said it got deleted after about a minute, and all it was him was saying, like, good video, and then talking about the video. And he said it happened on some other videos as well, where YouTube was just randomly deleting comments like a minute after he posted them. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that, Chris. So yeah, in theory, it'd probably be a tight fit on this one. I don't know if the mechanism would, in theory, work, but I guess, yes, you could. I wouldn't want to do it with this one because it's my only Mark 7, but you could drill there and fit one of those mounts. Well, this isn't actually a proper riot helmet. This is a British Mark 6A military helmet, and there's also the standard Mark 6. And they had a visor mount system that could be installed on them. So these are the visors that went on them. Oh, yeah, I think I remember him saying that. But yeah, there's been loads of weird things like that where just random words keep getting held. There's also one, the weirdest one, I think this was when I made Laser a mod on here, was he kept trying to post something, and I think it was the word safety that YouTube kept hiding, and then I asked people in the stream, try and say the word safety, and like nearly everybody's comments wouldn't show up. Well, these are just, if that's what you mean. I'm trying to think. There's some elasticy bits on it, like that, which are going a bit, which are the bits that are meant to hold it, but I think that still holds it. But I don't think these were ever elastic on this one. They're more like a just a kind of nylon-y thing. But yeah, these aren't elastic. Oh, the mask, sorry. Mask, not the which one? The M9? Sorry, yeah, I thought you meant helmet then. Yeah, these are still elasticy. Unless I'm thinking of the wrong mask. And then on the Israeli one, these are the rubber straps rather than the elastic ones, but they're still sort of elasticy. I prefer the GP5. The GP7 is more modern, but the GP5 is more simple and just sort of works and generally cheaper. Totally depends on the helmet. If you're getting a Mark 7 helmet in the UK, they're generally like £50 to £100. It really depends though on size, condition. It depends, Iron Man. I like some sort of marching music, if that's the sort of stuff you mean. I was listening to the DDR anthem again earlier because they were playing it on the radio the other day, and now it's stuck in my head again. Yeah, I could do, Chris. I'll certainly try that. I want to obviously only do it on helmets I've got duplicates of or that aren't very expensive. I've done a video that's not live yet, which shows me, you know, taking them off the Mark 6 and putting them on the Mark 6A and putting the Mark 6 back how it used to be. Although mine came with the visor mounts. Because yeah, see, mine looks like that now because it's not got the visor mounts on, but that's the bit I took them off of. And then obviously put them on the Mark 6A. But I think in theory, because all they really do... okay, cool. But yeah, I think I was saying in theory that because of how these just attach to the helmet, all they literally are is... it's going to be hard to show on the camera. Is you've basically got a nut and a washer and everything on the inside and like a screw. And then all they do is literally there, they screw in. That's basically it. So you could definitely put these on other helmets if you had one that was a close enough shape. Ideally, obviously, you'd want a helmet with a completely flat side because when they're round like this, they wouldn't go on as well. But there'd be a lot of helmets they could go on. In theory, I wonder if it would go on a Pascut. Again, it might depend on how large the helmet is. But yeah, in theory, I think you could do it on a Pascut, but again, it's not going to be brilliant. The problem with the GP7, though, is the straps are really uncomfortable. They, like, really pull at your hair and everything. If you get the right size GP5, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, pretty much what Hype just said, or Fregat. But yeah, the GP5M, you get the voice diaphragm on it, so it's like the GP7, people can hear you wearing it, but it does make a very good face seal. The GP7 PMK kind of has a weird cushion thing that, for me, really doesn't work very well. Because the issue I have with mine, and I've said this in a few videos, is it like really tickles my eyes. Like, because what it does is it seems to like tickle the eyelashes there, and it's only the GP7 PMK I've ever had that problem with. And it seems whenever I exhale, it always forces air into my eyes as well, which makes me, want to blink. That's cool. When I tried the Mark 6A with an S10 on, the visor comes down enough to cover the mask, but the filter blocks it from coming all the way down. But yeah, if it's designed so it'll work with a filter, it should be quite good. I know which helmet you mean, but I haven't seen any on eBay. Let me have a look. But the problem is, as I said before, they're not the titanium ones, though, are they? They're like the Russian Kevlar style ones. There's the covers. Replica one. I don't want a replica. All of them showing up are replicas. Reenactment helmets. Does that mean it's a replica? One looks real for about 100 quid, but yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the thing I like about helmet style masks is that although you have to probably get one the right size to begin with, there's less adjustment. It will make a good seal to your face because of, you're literally stretching a bit of rubber over that closes. Because on Mondays, it's Monday today, isn't it? I have a panto rehearsal from 8 till 10. So it means that I can't do a stream at 8 o'clock. And because I got up early today to get a load of stuff done this morning, I thought I'd do a stream for people that are in time zones, because I'm about at the moment. And that way it means I don't have to rush and try and do a stream and finish it before I need to go out. Yeah, the problem is, Laser, I have with those sort of things is I don't want to spend like £50+ on a helmet only to find out it's a plastic thing rather than a genuine one. Isn't there a way of putting regular GOS filters on the PMK2, or does it require a converter? I've never had one, so I don't actually know. Yeah, that sounds very good, the Briz 4304 then. But yeah, as I said, my only experience with like PMK style masks is GP7 and the PMK1, and I've got the PPM88 as well, which I like more, but my PPM88 still has the issue of broken voice diaphragm, which I've never got around to fixing. So, you know. No, Floyd, I'm trying to grow out a moustache on purpose. So yeah, give it a couple more weeks and we'll see what it's like. If it looks shit in 2 weeks, then I'll shave it off. Not the one I've got at the moment. The one I've got coming from Russia, no. The other thing, though, is I won an auction on eBay the other day. Now it's finished, I don't mind saying, because I didn't want to say and then other people bid on it. All right, Floyd, you're being a dick, aren't you? Goodbye. So anyway, what was I going to say before he distracted me? Yeah, sure, Ivan, just go ahead. I have got a thing coming called a Cyclops 1, which is apparently an old Russian night vision spy camera kind of thing. Annoyingly, the one I've got coming does not have the really cool old Soviet lens with it, but you can fit other lenses to it and still use it. But it's one where apparently a lot of photography enthusiasts buy this night vision device just to take the photographing lens off and then resell it. Yeah, the thing is, it takes a while, doesn't it, Bing? That's why a lot of the reason I don't grow facial hair, because I always get annoyed after like a week of it not looking thick enough and then shaving it. But yeah, I'll see what happens with it, and then if I still don't like it after a while, I'll shave it. But I know it takes a while. Or all 40mm GOS, basically. Yeah, but lots of NATO masks are all 40mm NATO, but I like a lot of the old Soviet designs. The reason I like the Soviet designs, though, I need to go back to Hype's comment in a minute because I'm missing it, is that how you can tell they used loads of similar parts, you know, so like if you look at the GP5 eyepieces and like the Tissot tube sort of intake-outtake system is the same as the GP5M, and like the Shum 41 and all the others have very similar systems. As you can see on the MM1 over there, again, it's the older version. It's a bit chunkier, but it's that same system. The voice diaphragm, same one on the MM1, same one on the GP5M, same one on the Shums. That's the thing I really like with a lot of the Soviet stuff, is how, you know, they obviously manufactured a lot of parts and they built lots of different masks to utilize those parts because it's cheap. So what was the hype comment like this? Also, awesome thing is the port on the Briz 4304 comes off, so you can use it to adapt other PMK masks like PMK3 to take notes as well. Oh, it's very cool. Yeah. Yeah, none of the mounts I've got have head mounts, because I don't think any of them are like military style ones. Most of them are just, you know, like civilian ones with lanyards. Again, with this one, you can put the lanyard around your neck and then, you know, lift it up. But yeah, that's not as convenient, is it, as a head mount? Yeah, this one, like I said, is quite cool. I've been trying to look at radiation stuff like Hype suggested, but so far I've not had really seen much on it. But no, what I've got, Iron Man, is I've got a Vino, which is a good skin cream as well for me, and I'm just using that because that works well, especially when I've just put it on, which I've not done yet today. But I use that for my eczema, and I was reading a lot of people use that on beards and moustaches. So there's one there, a Geiger counter, one there, and there's also a SOXO1M in my drawer. And that other thing has a radiation alarm, but it's for gamma, so it's not very practical. All right, if you want to have a look through there, just where I've got it out again. But again, it's just with that cover on in the room. Yeah, most of the time, Rich, I keep clean shaven. It's just said at the moment I actually really want to try and see if I can grow a moustache. Does he know it's radioactive, Laser? Or does he just happen to have it? Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? Like, I can't really find any information about this. And I even asked Vladimir when he was on, but he had no idea either. But yeah, when I used it at night, it was pretty good. The only thing was trying to film it with my phone through the night vision outside was really impractical. But hopefully at some point I can rig up something, you know, so I can fit a camera pretty well to it. Zenit unit, let me look that up. He has a Geiger counter, okay, so I'm assuming he knows then that it's probably not a good idea to eat or drink off of Fiestaware. Right, at the moment it's coming up with furniture when I type in Zenit unit. I'm assuming I want to look at the Zenit camera kind of stuff. I've heard of it as Zenith, yeah. Photo Sniper 12S, that's a cool looking thing. So you've literally got a gun style thing for a camera. That's quite cool. That's very cool, actually. But yeah. Which thing you're on about? This one I got for £40, basically, second hand on eBay, where somebody just had it. Like, oh, I've got a working night vision, but I don't want it. I don't really know anything about it. So I just bought that from them. Okay, yeah, that's interesting. I think I said to you, didn't I, as well, Hype, that they've posted now my other night vision, the one you recommended, and they sent me the same manual that you posted as well. So yeah, thanks for that. That's hopefully going to be here in a week or two, so then I can compare that to this one. Now, 70 kg for 5 reps is still pretty good, Richard. I'm sure a lot of people can't do that. I have no idea if I could do that. Probably not. Was that like bench? Yeah, bench press. So yeah, on your back doing that, isn't it? In theory, you could make a scope out of a night vision binocular. The main thing is, can it handle the recoil? Because of obviously a lot of scopes and things like this aren't designed with gun recoil in mind, and they've not got obviously a crosshair on it. That's the only issue. What sort of knives have they got there, then, Mordeo? The Chinese FMJ05 is kind of a its own thing. Let me search that then. Well, I like the Chinese FMJ05. Yeah, you linked to this before, didn't you? It's the thing of the different tubes and all that. But yeah, the FMJ05, the face piece reminds me more of something like the Canadian C3. But the FMJ05 or MF11 is very good if you get in your size. Yeah, there's a lot on like places like Wish, like $30, and for that price, it's a very good mask. But annoyingly, the one I've got is in like a very small size, so it's uncomfortable for me to wear. It makes an airtight seal, but it's just not comfortable to wear for long periods because it's just like crushing my nose. Yeah, well, there's a GP4 up there, hidden behind the Y2K or U2K mask that's fallen over it. And PMK2 I don't have. I think the MF11 is normalized, isn't it? But not the normal FMJ05. I think the nose cup on it would be fine if you've got one that's big enough, because the only issue I've got with mine is the mask is too small. And I know it's definitely too small because it's like size 1 or something on it. And, how loose I have to have the straps to keep it on my face. It's fairly bright. I don't know if there's any way of explaining how bright I think it looks. Obviously, at night, it's bright enough. The issue is obviously making out details. So resolution-wise, there's more distortion around the edges of it, so it does a bit of a fisheye thing. I don't know if that's common, but say if I hold my hand up there and sort of do that, around the edges, it's a bit more fisheyed, but resolution looks fine. You can make out, I'm not sure resolution, like you can't read small text with it. That's difficult because I'm just attempting that to see if, so I guess the resolution isn't too high. As I said, it's a bit of a fisheye effect. But you can see details like textures on carpets and things like it. Yeah, so annoyingly, since I've got this, I've not had a night with a good amount of moon or stars. It's been cloudy. But when I used it on a cloudy night outside, you could see okay, like not brilliantly without the IR illuminator on, but you could navigate by it in sort of cloudy conditions with a bit of moon and starlight, but obviously not a lot. When it's not cloudy, I'll see if I can take it out again, and I think it would probably see quite well in shaded areas. But yeah, so it's brighter than what my Night Fox is in the dark. Obviously, the flare doesn't see light, so you can't really compare it with the flare. But yeah, from what I can go on so far, it's brighter than the Night Fox in the dark in terms of light amplification. But when it was like cloudy in like a shaded area, you'd struggle to navigate without the IR light on. You could do it, but you'd have to be walking quite slowly. And because it's a monocular, obviously it's zoomed in a bit, which makes walking with it quite difficult. Mine's probably just the AK-74, to be honest. I just really like the AK-74 because, you know, classic AK, just in a better caliber. Yeah, it's not been raining so much nights here, Richard, but I think it was pretty much every day last week there was a bit to a lot of rain. So lots of areas are just saturated. And even today, we weren't meant to have rain, but it's been really dark and overcast. Yeah, I think that's actually technically Gen 0, isn't it, 760? We were on about this last stream. Is it because of UV? Like Richard was saying, arc-eye or whatever. Some people were saying that's not true. Other people were saying it is true, so I don't know. But like the PNV 57s, or what they're called, or PNW 57s, the tanker helmet ones you pull down. Yeah, MPI-K, isn't it, the name of the East German AKs? I really like those. What's really cool is that last generation East German gun. Oh, what's that called? East Germany IMFDB. I want to find out if they've got this one on here. It's that really cool looking rifle. Is it on here? Annoyingly, I don't think even IMFDB has this gun on here. It's all like Bundeswehr experimentals on there rather than anymore. Yeah, I think it's probably just a case of there's not been enough research done into a lot of the CMOS stuff. But yeah, it's really interesting, some old tech like that, isn't it? How it just holds up so well at what it did. It could have definitely been STG something. Let me just Google East German STG. Is it Vega STG 940? That's it. Or Vega. The Vega STG 940 was an East German series of AK derivative assault rifles. The STG 940 was chambered in 5.56 by 45mm NATO, and as the STG 942 in 5.45 39mm M74. The weapon was not tested but not officially adopted by the East German Army. It was conceived and developed from 1985 and produced between 1985 and 1990 during the final phase of East Germany's existence as a state. But yeah, it's a really cool looking thing. For those of you that don't know, I'll just link to a picture of it. Again, you can tell it's just an AK underneath, but it is pretty space age looking. There you go. The stream has been on 34 minutes, nearly 35 minutes now. Oh, there's probably functioning firearms ones of it out there, considering they produced it for 5 years. I wonder if I can actually demonstrate this on the webcam. Let me flick the lights off a second, and I'll get the Night Fox out. I'll get the Night Fox out before I flick the lights off, because this room's a clutter at the moment, because as I said, I moved the mattress to a different room. I'm just using this room for storage now and doing streams, but I'll get the Night Fox, and if Iron Man's still on, I'll show you the Night Fox, although the only problem is Iron Man, it will be 4x zoom, so it's not necessarily going to be all that good for showing you, but I can show you what the light amplification looks like on it if it's not pitch black, and then compare it with that Soviet one. I can see how you say Czechoslovakian, because the grip on it does remind me a bit of the VZ56 as well. And again, that's not an actual AK, is it, the VZ56, but it's that kind of looking grip. Yeah, that's what I'll do, Hype. I'm just going to get these in first, so I'm not fiddling in the dark with batteries. And also I'm not going to, hopefully, not trip over anything. Right, so if I turn this on, and I need to take, that's the IR filter, so I'll take that off. Nice thing of this, at least being CMOS, is you can't damage it from having lights on and turning it on. Right, power. Let's check the battery still have a thing. The display is actually really nice on this, though, saying that. Right, so hopefully you can maybe see through that. It's going to be quite difficult, isn't it? But I think that's mostly because it's... No, with my eye I can see all right, so I'm hoping it's just not a refresh rate thing. Right, I'll turn the lights off and see if you can see anything, but I don't know if it'll work all that well. It works fine to the eye, but it's just a case of holding it up to a camera. Will it work? So let's have a look. So there's obviously a bit of light coming off of the monitor. And I need to obviously show you it from the right end. So here we go. Right. Yeah, there we go. Hang on. It's not focused right for the webcam. But you can hopefully see that there's stuff there. Maybe. To my eye, using this in the dark, I can see this room absolutely fine, saying that. So the light amplification in this is good enough that in a dark room that's not completely pitch black, you can see stuff. But obviously the annoying thing of this is because it's 4x zoom, being a binocular, it's not brilliant for showing through a cam. Right, now if I turn this one off, let's check that goes off, yeah, because I don't want to waste the batteries. I'll show you this one, and I'm pretty certain this one, and I take this cap off now, because obviously we don't need to worry about exposing it to too much light. Yeah, let's hold that on till it's fully glowing. Yeah, I can definitely, this definitely amplifies light better. It looks a lot brighter, and I can make out details better. So in theory, this is a better display, but as I said, the problem with the Night Fox is it's 4x zoomed in, and I wasn't using the IR illuminator. Right, so let's see. Oh, I like how it's reflecting the screen slightly there as well. Can you see anything on this? You should be able to, because I can see it with my eye. There's the poster. There's the FAL. There's the GP. Let me just hold down the power button again just to... right, what's it looking at there? Let me see if I can just change the focus on this slightly for the webcam. So I want it to be focused as well as possible for... Let's try it like that, if that's any better. And it's whiting out when it sees my face. GP5 there. There's the sign. Some more masks. There's the GP7 up there, I think, if I'm looking in the right place. Yeah, there we go, on the right armor. Yeah, so this is really good. It is more visible than the Night Fox, but as I said, the Night Fox is a CMOS sensor, so that is pretty impressive. With the IR illuminator on, the Night Fox is fine. But as I said, the main issue of trying to show the Night Fox on the webcam is it's 4x optical zoom, and you're looking at a wall like 3 yards behind me, if that. But yeah, this is very good for what it is. I'll flick the light back on now. But I said it was just a cheap, I didn't really know what I was getting, night vision device off of eBay, so I was pretty pleased with it. Right, let me flick this light back on. I'll tell you what, I won't bother flicking the ceiling light back on for now, because that should be enough detail for the webcam to auto-adjust the brightness. But, yeah, but for you, Iron Man, if you're still on, I think you will get on well with a Night Fox, because for what they are very good, especially if you wanted to get that one that's like the 2 IR illuminator headset thing, because that's a much more modern one than this one is. I think this is a discontinued model now. I'm not going to get any of those things down now, I'm afraid. It's actually really difficult for me to get those down as no how now, because I can't really stand on the bed because it's all junk on the... because my bed is not in this room anymore. The bed frame's still here, but I put the mattress in the spare bedroom now because it's quite a room to sleep in. I just said no, don't ask again. But yeah, it'll be interesting to compare that with the other device when it comes from Russia, because it'll be nice to see, you know, how they contrast, to see which one looks a bit better and everything like that. I'm kind of tempted at some point to maybe get another Night Fox. If Iron Man's still on, that Night Fox you were looking at, I'm kind of tempted to get. Because the thing is, as much as I know it's digital night vision using CMOS, I do quite like the Night Fox things because they're sort of interesting, you know, well-made things. I like this one because you can do photo and video with it as well. The only issue is, unless you're using it on a stabilizer, it's fine for your eye. When you take photos, it is very blurry. Because I guess it's to do with probably, like, I'm trying to think, like, exposure settings, the ISO maybe. With an airsoft gun, I think they should be absolutely fine, 7.62, because the as long as you're protecting them from BBs, you don't really have to worry about recoil, do you, on an airsoft gun? Especially not if it's an AEG or something, because it's not like it's going to be recoiling like a rifle. And these are obviously designed to get knocked about a little bit. And yeah, if it's an airsoft AEG, you don't really need a crosshair, do you? Because if you're zoomed in enough, if it's still in line with a barrel, you're still going to know pretty well where the BBs are going. No, I'm not going to get down any of the things that are on display at the moment, just because it's pretty awkward to do it, and there's like 15 minutes left in the stream, because I don't know how you can see that there. Let me turn the chair or move that. But where I used to have, like I say, the mattress there, I've moved that now. That's just the big softbox light that's there. So that's just all stuff I'm storing on there now because I've moved my mattress. Yeah, that would be the good thing. Is it the X27 you're on about before? Because I need to remember that and save it for when people ask. Because I was people were asking me, was there any like digital night vision that was any good? Yeah, that is the one, the X27. And when I said about that, because I couldn't remember the name, I was like, oh, Hype showed one that was really good. Everybody's like, oh no, it wasn't that good, and they thought they were on about like a Sony one or something. But yeah. I think it's probably going to be one of those long things, isn't it? Of the stuff will eventually catch up, just like with like consumer digital cameras or digital camcorders. They're slowly getting better frame rate settings on them. Like you don't have to buy a specific slow motion camera to get ones now that do 60 FPS standard rather than 30, and you get some that do 1080p 120 FPS. I think it's just going to be one of those slow roads of the technology eventually gets better on consumer grade stuff without paying silly money. But hopefully they'll get something that's probably Gen 2 sort of equal, maybe in like 5 years. Yeah, I did tell him about 10 o'clock today, Richard, that I was going to be streaming at 3. But I don't think he'd seen the messages. He's probably busy. Yeah, I tell you one thing I really hate, though, is when you watch really old shot on digital movies. Like, stuff from the 90s where they use digital. Oh, it looks awful. The only one I have an exception with is 28 Days Later, because I know they on purposely wanted that to have that look. But, yeah, there's so many, like, films that could be good. And I really obviously like 35mm film because it looks nice. But, yeah, I mean, with most films now, it makes sense to shoot on digital because it's a lot cheaper and easier to edit. And obviously, I can understand that some directors still want to use film because of like a nostalgia for film, and there's certain things people like more about film. But yeah, you can still get really good consumer grade digital cameras now. But yeah, if we consider what even good digital was like in the 90s, yeah. No, I don't have an Xbox One. The most up-to-date console I have is a PS3 because I bought a new PC recently and I basically play everything on the PC because then I can use it for video editing and doing all the online stuff as well. Let's have a look at the Iraqi M80 helmet. The funniest Iraqi helmet I know of is that one that they built for that militia that looks like a Darth Vader helmet. Iraqi M80 helmet. Okay. Again, that looks quite similar to me to US M1 helmet. Oh, it's actually made of compressed canvas, is it? Not even metal? Ah, yeah, it says it's like the design shape is basically... The only stupid thing is that it says they were replacing like M50, SSH-40 and SSH-60 helmets with it. Imagine... Yeah, that's the one. Fedayeen helmet, yeah. Which one of his sons was it? Was it the really scummy one, Udi or whatever he was called? The one that, you know, went around raping and like torturing people non-stop. Yeah, that's it, Fedayeen helmet. It looks even more like Darth Vader than my bloody Swiss M18 helmet does. Where's that one? Here, this is quite Vader-y looking to me, but yeah, the Fedayeen helmet. Yeah, Fedayeen. But yeah, it's quite something. I imagine it's not very good protective. Yep, I guess the Mark 6 does. I'd rather wear a regular Mark 6 than essentially a compressed fabric helmet. Because if you are wearing it as a PIV helmet and didn't expect protection, that's fine. But obviously, the thing is with the Mark 6 is really tough against blunt force impacts and being penetrated by things like drills. Because when Bart modified a Mark 6 for some sort of art project he did, this wasn't Mark 6A, it was a regular Mark 6. I think he had to use diamond drill tips to actually get through it, like it was blunting regular drill tips. So the actual plastic outer shell of the regular Mark 6 is really good. It's just a shame the filler was crap. Yeah, so this is... If you've seen Hobo with a Shotgun, I'm pretty sure this is the helmet Rip has in the Plague. Although there's a couple of Stowhelm variants that look quite similar, because after World War I, I think a lot of countries basically just said, let's make a Stowhelm but slightly different. So sometimes it's quite hard to tell if you see something briefly in a movie which one it is, but I'm pretty sure due to the rivets, the rivet hole at the back there, that's the one he has in the film. Although I think in Hobo with a Shotgun they put some like extra fake rivets on bits of the rim, but... Yeah, speaking of like the Mark 6 not being a very good helmet, that's one of the other things I found interesting recently was actually reading about some of the contents of what's in helmets. Because it can be quite surprising sometimes when, you know, you think one helmet's good and one helmet's bad, but then you read what they're made from. And it's actually sometimes interesting that you'll sometimes get helmets that provide less head coverage, but they're actually much better at stopping things. Do I need berets? I have a black beret and a green beret. I think they're both Yugoslavian ones that sort of people bought me as jokes, but I don't know where they are actually at the moment. I'm assuming they're on a shelf or in a box full of random military tats somewhere. Yeah, the M56 was actually a German World War II design. And the other East German helmet was as well, they used briefly. But there's lots of different reasons that apparently the like Nazi Germany never adopted the M56 design, which I think they called the M44 helmet, didn't they? The most common one I've heard, which might not be true, is that Hitler is like, "Nein, I do not like the design of this helmet. It is not fashionable enough." But at the same time, apparently one of the real reasons was just like retooling a lot of the factories would be too costly. So even though it costs more to produce, you know, M35, M40 style Stowhounds than the M44 design, if they took the cost of like stopping production to retool and everything, then it would be like slower and all that cost. But yeah, there is something very fascinating about old analog stuff. Yeah, I think it's exactly that, isn't it? It's because they don't have microchips and semiconductors in. That's what I like about all the Fallout stuff, that it's in a world where semiconductors were never invented. The one I find crazy is if you look at how the radar guidance system works on the Shilka. I just find it crazy that an anti-aircraft gun without semiconductors and stuff, using vacuum tubes and everything, they made something that could shoot down jets. You know, like would help a gun aim and shoot down a jet. It's like, how did the Russians come up with this? Yeah, it's crazy. Have you ever seen Turing's bomb or like looked at a video of it? That's really interesting because that's not too far from me. Is it Bletchley Park? Yeah, it's Bletchley Park, isn't it? Because I've been there to see it because it's not very expensive to go there if you're local. It's like a £5 entry fee or something. And that's where they've got the massive mechanical code breaker. And it's essentially, they were saying there, like when a tour guide was taking us around, they were saying it was only like in the last year or two that they've actually had processors built, you know, like massive server racks that can do as many calculations per minute or whatever. And that was just because the how like, you know, many moving parts there were on the massive thing. Let me just get you a picture up of it. So that you can find pictures of the original one online, but here's the like working replica they've got. Which, you know, so that, I don't know if the original still exists, but that's the replica they've got that actually functions. And it shows you, you know, the thing, and then there's pictures you can get of all the insides of it. But it's, you know, you can see videos of where all the bits are working, and they've got it opened up, so you walk all around it, and they've just got a rope around the outside. But that's essentially how they cracked the Enigma code, was just, you know, through a massive, essentially mechanical calculator that would keep trying combinations until it worked. Yeah, that's interesting, 760. We were saying yesterday about the US ECH, how it survived even 7.62 NATO in that video where Mike B tested it. But the thing is, you probably still die from the head impact anyway, so considering how much the helmet bulged in. But it's still, you know, really interesting that some of these helmets can stop some of these things. Maybe the Sturmgewehr 44 if they could afford it, or something after that, I guess. Yellow, blue, Austrian Watchman. It's hard to say because Albert Speer was quite keen, wasn't he, on the Sturmgewehr? But again, it depends if you have somebody like Adolf in charge who just messes about with everything. Well, I am not a Yankee, so there you go. You could say we're a country that's America's bitch, but we're definitely not Yanks. All right, let's have a look at the video Laser posted very quickly. Oh, crap, I don't want to close the stream to do it. All right, it won't let me. Oh, yeah, it will. There we go. Oops, something went wrong. Okay, I can't click on it. Never mind. But no, I don't have a problem with Russians. I don't mind anybody as long as they're polite and we can have a chat about whatever without it getting into stupid politics of my country is better than your country, because most of us on here probably really don't care about that. And it's annoying when we actually have streams and people want to keep doing that. I'm not in the British Army. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm just going what they told us when we were there, but again, they might be bigging it up a bit more at the actual place. Well, that's the thing. It's a difference between nations and ideology, isn't it, Iron Man? Because you can have ideologies I think are abhorrent, whoever like has them, but that doesn't mean the people in the country are abhorrent. You know, it's like I have no problems with Russians, but I think the Soviet Union was a pretty horrible thing, especially Stalinist period Soviet Union. And it's saying I don't think Germans are evil, but I definitely think Germans that subscribe to, you know, National Socialism, or, you know, and I definitely mean that how the Nazis had it, not, you know, somebody just saying, oh, I'm a nationalist and I also want socialist policies, because that's a weird way of saying it, but, you know, it's that kind of thing, isn't it? yeah, in general, I just kind of like people that don't want to go around murdering other people. 'Cause the thing I've said before about ideologies is I'm generally quite scared when people support ideologies that start blaming groups of people for stuff. Because that's one of the big problems we're having in Britain at the moment, where some of you might know, and I don't want to go too much into politics, but this is actually really fascinating, is where people like to start blaming and using really strong buzzwords against people with different ideological sort of thinking than them. For example, with all this Brexit stuff now, it is turning into, if you support the EU, you're a traitor, you're committing treason against the country. If you are pro-Brexit, you are a racist. So apparently I'm a racist just because I don't really like how the EU is governed. And it's where people are saying, and it's getting worse and worse. And it's like how Labour's getting in lots of trouble for anti-Semitism because they won't actually officially as a party discourage it. So they keep kind of, every time they get asked about it with all these incidents, they keep going, no, like that. And it's this sort of problem where the politics over here is getting worse and worse in terms of people basically saying, let's commit violence against somebody because they're the ones responsible for this, I think that's very dodgy, 762, because, again, I'd be worried about the safety of the Kurds because they've suffered a lot throughout history, and I don't think it's going to be very nice for them if, the current Turkish government's enforcing military action against them. But, I mean, they're just in one of those, really poor sections of the world in the sense where, they're screwed kind of thing from their geolocation, a bit like Poland was throughout a lot of history. If you've got much more bigger, powerful countries next to you, you're kind of at their mercy if you're a smaller country. Which form of government's that then, Hype? I mean, with communism, it certainly makes things better off, I think, for the poorest people. There was a video I was watching earlier that was quite interesting about, some of the pros of East Germany compared to West Germany. And the problem was the person obviously had a really strong communist bias, but it was interesting reading, some of the points that he had backed up with facts that you wouldn't normally hear people talk about. Didn't they ask Assad for help before, though, or was it that Assad granted them autonomy if they'd fight ISIS and a lot of the other terrorist groups or whatever? But again, this is getting into dodgy territory if I'm in the UK and talking about maybe pros of the Syrian regime. Oh, yeah. Anyway, I'll be off in a few minutes, but I'll stay on for a bit longer because I don't mind finishing the stream off talking about politics a bit if it's being civil. I'd be a lot happier, to be honest, Chris, if the Russians are taking up positions rather than Turkey. Just simply for the fact that I don't think the Russians would commit as many war crimes against the Kurds or anything like that. Yeah, that's the thing, though. In a lot of these, in a lot of these countries, Hype, I do think that, like, what they called Ba'athist regimes, was that the name of it? That compared to like Islamic theocracies or whatever, they're a lot less worse. I mean, especially if you're a Christian or Jewish or any of these groups that. But that's the same for a lot of these things. When you have a kind of extreme form of civic nationalist sort of authoritarian government, so let's use fascist, say, for example, in the term like Mussolini would, not National Socialism or Nazism, they're generally not too bad in terms of stopping people murdering each other. And again, like Tito in Yugoslavia, well, he was a communist. Some of those regimes are very good at that. And then often they're awful when they collapse because you've got this power vacuum of all these different groups that hate each other. And then they'll all start blaming each other for all their problems rather than it being, we're poor in this country because we've not got a lot of good stuff or, we were never rich to begin with. But you get all this scapegoating of a certain group has done this to us. The thing I worry about with Turkey as well, and there are Turkish people who come on here and I don't have a problem with them, it's Erdogan's government or however his name's pronounced, I generally have a problem with Turkey, is that they seem to be kind of doing this very weird thing where they seem to be both agitating Russia and America or, like NATO and whoever Russia's current allies are. where they sort of do this thing where they seem to kind of do things that, provoke both sides, and I don't really know what they're playing at. Yeah, no, I'd agree with you there, Chris. I mean, the thing that really annoys me is when you see some of the places that in Syria that Russians have liberated, with like the Syrian government, the people are genuinely happy they're there, which you can obviously see from video. It's not like fake footage, because they're not being murdered or raped or whatever anymore now that there's Russians there. And then the government saying like, no, evil Putin is really oppressing these people. And we've had that as well before. People start getting called conspiracy theorists because they said, well, the Russians have done less damage to Syria than America potentially has, funding terrorist groups there. Yeah, they shot down the MiG-25, wasn't it? A while ago, like a couple of years ago. All right, thank you very much, Laser. Yes, I appreciate the donation. I'll be off in a minute or two anyway. But then they were shelling US troops, weren't they, recently? And I don't think they killed anyone, but they were shelling them and them going, oh, well, we didn't do it deliberately, but you would just happen to be there and you shouldn't have been there. Oh, Su-24, sorry. Yeah. No, MiG-25 is a really fast one, isn't it? Yeah, Su-24 is the bomber. Yeah. I should know this, but for whatever reason, my mind's pulling a blank with a lot of like late Cold War Soviet planes now. Well, the thing is, Chris, I definitely think that the current Turkish government is trying to expand on land, and what they are doing probably is trying to play a game of let us in, we are here to help. Oh, look, this is our territory now. Hello, Scott. Yeah, well, I didn't say Mussolini wasn't a socialist, but what Mussolini was a socialist, wasn't he? In like a much more old-fashioned term, and then like what ended up happening is he just became very disenfranchised with communism. But again, it's very difficult with some of these historical people to say how does their ideology compare to other ideologies that are similar when they all say they're different. I mean, I would also judge it on some of their not like economic policies, but like some of their things, because generally the thing that I think sets National Socialism apart, if we think of the World War II Nazis, with the other fascists, is that they were very much obsessed with race and all this sort of stuff, where most of the other fascists weren't. It was more like a civic nationalist thing. Yeah, I definitely agree. There's little difference between fascist and socialism. It's mostly just, isn't it, with fascism, private companies can exist as long as they serve the interest of the state. Whereas with sort of, if you say like the USSR, although you might technically have private industries, it's all meant to be government controlled. Again, what's this is, does it happen in theory or praxis? Because you can have lots of government regimes, can't you, where they all say things, but they don't necessarily act on those things. So, Oh, yeah, I'll be going off soon, Mike. Just seeing you've on there. Yeah, I sent you a message earlier to say I'd be on, but yeah, I'm finishing fairly soon. I think he might have been doing my slingshot today, Iron Man, because I think he said yesterday he'd be working on the slingshot. So then he can finally go to Slingshot Warrior. Here's a slingshot tutorial. Hasn't China like reformed itself several times? I really don't know at this point, because officially they still have a communist party, don't they? But I think they have a lot of like capitalistic bits built into it now, don't they? And that's probably why some of it still works quite well, because generally you need to keep reforming a lot of political systems rather than just keeping them the same. Yeah, like I said, I've not read enough into how modern China works to actually know, but I know of a lot of these systems, the countries that survive are basically the ones that keep evolving the system as it goes along, or, like changing bits and or stuff like that. Because in general, I don't think you can have a purely kind of like typical communist fascist country that will just survive on its own. Generally, they start moving away from it, or they at least change. All right, cool, Mike. Thank you very much for doing that for me. But yeah, that should be interesting. And I'll obviously look forward to getting it. You have to let me know at some point in the next couple of weeks if you're free at any point, and then I can find a day when I can pop down again. I think you could probably say that as well, hype, about like most of the Western countries. If you say like some of the old British leaders, what they'd think of modern Britain. Yeah, it's very strange, isn't it, some of this stuff? But that's why I'm pretty libertarian in my political beliefs, because I think out of everything I've read, that seems to be what comes along that's best so far. Because as I've said, I'm definitely not saying my views are correct, because you know, you keep learning things and your opinions change on that. But in general, I'm kind of like a socialisty libertarian now, where I think that pretty much everything should be legalized, or not necessarily 100% of things, like complete ANCAP free market, but lots of things should be legal to buy and sell, and then certain products should have taxes on, where the taxes go to funding relevant social things. And again, a lot of people say, oh, you can't have socialism with libertarian or whatever. Like, they're completely conflicting ideas, but I don't think they necessarily are. Yeah, I haven't seen that, but I know of it. Hype, yeah. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing, isn't it? Because like what we can say in the UK, for example, is apparently Scotland in the UK has some of the worst heroin death rates in all of Europe, despite the fact we keep going stricter and stricter on it. So clearly, like, you know, our prohibition is not working in the UK on drugs. And every time the government, right, over here asks people who are actually experts on the drugs, you know, like scientists and, you know, people like that, not government officials, what they should do, they should say, you should legalize it. You know, there should be restrictions on it, but it should be legalized. And then the government says, like, thank you for your opinion, but no, we're not going to do that. And we've seen from Portugal that since they've decriminalized, not necessarily legalized, but decriminalized a lot of drug-related things, you know, Portugal is having a lot less problems now with a lot of these substances, for whatever reason. I suppose because organized crime isn't getting funded by it, is one thing. But again, the thing is with a lot of these drugs that a lot of people forget is, say, like with heroin or alcohol or whatever, if people have a really shitty life that's miserable, it's kind of no wonder people get addicted to substances that make them feel happy for a time. And I think there's so many people that, you know, don't want to look at maybe miserable social conditions people are put into, and then would rather say, oh no, just ban the drugs because the drugs are bad. It's like, if people are so miserable, they are always going to constantly be finding ways to try and escape that misery. Well, I was going to be finishing any time now, Troubled Man, but it's just we were talking about like governmental controls. It got weirdly into politics, but not bullshit politics at the end. So yeah, I was sort of talking about how, you know, like legislation, just trying to control things doesn't really work. So what is that, where they wouldn't want to give their time up for not money and things like that? Yeah, the thing is though, it's like, yeah, I've met a lot of people like that, because on Thursdays I volunteer at an animal shelter, and I just do it because I like animals, you know, and I enjoy helping out, even though it can sometimes be quite miserable in terms of, you know, suffering animals and all that. But, you know, I've had loads of people say to me, you're wasting your time volunteering because you could be working those same hours and getting paid for it. And it's like, they can't understand why anybody would ever want to do something that wouldn't make money. But that kind of boggles my mind, because surely that's why some of these people are really unhappy, because they can't see a broader picture of, you know, material wealth isn't everything. But I suppose they're 7.62, anybody could shoot back, couldn't they, at least, if everybody's got a Kalashnikov? Yeah, there was a thing on Radio 4 yesterday, Chris, that was like a history of East Germany, or about the collapse of East Germany, and they kept playing bits of the anthem as the program was going on. So, you know, it was just quite interesting at work, hearing bits of the East German anthem playing, where they were talking to people who work for the East German government and people in the West German government, and like businessmen and all that, and the fall of the Berlin Wall and all that. But yeah, I will be off in a minute, but yeah, that's my opinion on a lot of drugs, is that if people have bad lives or boring lives, they will take lots of these substances. So rather than just simply saying, no, you can't have the substance, maybe improve people's lives and make sure that if people are buying this stuff, they get something that's very clean and they know the risks. Okay, so it's kind of like not forcing the socialism on other people, is it that kind of thing? So what happens if Radio 4 actually just goes down because the BBC decides that nobody really likes Radio 4 because there's some good content still on it? So they cut Radio 4, don't tell the Royal Navy, and then World War III actually starts and everybody dies in a Fred-style nuclear, Armageddon because the BBC cut Radio 4. Wouldn't that be a weird kind of clown world way of the world ending? Wasn't it like the 60s, Richard? But I think it was like at different parts they had like razor wire and stuff, and then later on they constructed, like the really kind of famous 2 or 3 stage bit of wall with, like the wall, like the watchtowers in the middle and the other section of wall, like, other bits and like the dog kind of bits where they could, walk the people down. Yeah, right, I'll look that up at some point after the stream, but as I said, I'm going off in a minute, but it's interesting to read. But it's kind of the whole thing as well, isn't it? That's the problem I don't like for a lot of people, the communist mentality. A lot of it is just, I'm too lazy to do something, give me that. Yeah, there was one on yesterday, Mike, about the Berlin Wall. And that was playing at work about 9 a.m. sort of time. I can't say the exact time because I can't remember, but it was probably like 9 to 10 a.m. sort of time. Dead letters policy. Okay. Yeah, well, that's the thing, Richard, we were on about earlier in the chat about some of this old, great analog technology that still works because it was built like a tank, and it's really primitive but efficient. I kind of like that kind of system, isn't it? If you like something, you should move somewhere where the system you like is there, rather than I want everybody else to change to a system I want. All right, cool. Anyway, I'm going to go off now because I've been on 1 hour and 12 minutes and I said I'd be on about an hour. So I've gone a bit over. Maybe it's the Mark 7 always makes me go over. I don't know. My big think hat. But yeah, see everybody. Thanks for donations as always, Laser. I think he's already gone off. But yeah, I'll be on tomorrow, but I think tomorrow I'll probably just stream 8 p.m. as usual because I've not really got much on tomorrow. So I might as well just say 8 p.m. in the evening to stream. Right, see everybody. Thanks, and yeah, I'll hopefully be on tomorrow evening. As said, I can't see why not. As Wednesday's my birthday, I might be out for a lot of the day, so I don't know if there'll be a stream on Wednesday. But I guess stay tuned and see what happens. Right, see ya.